I am Swapnil and I have a overall 11 years of experience working as a data engineer consultant. Right now, I'm working as a senior data engineer for one of the banks in Toronto. And my major scope of work includes managing the team, designing the solutions for the different business stakeholders. And I have mostly worked on designing different types of data pipelines using Azure and AWS services and utilized technologies like Spark, Databricks, and SQL and all. So, yeah, I'll hand it over to you for you to give your introduction.
So I have been working for the past 5 years. Initially, I joined in a team that we were working on computer vision, which is a sub-branch of data science. Later on, I moved to data engineering because I was more interested in learning the data handling of things. The tech stacks that I have worked on previously and now are Python, OpenCV, which is basically an image processing library in Python and C++, Spark, Hive, Kafka. As of now, the project that I am working on is there is some enterprise data that we are getting uh, in Kafka partitions. We are performing some processing and investing it to the databases like Hive and HPFS. Sorry, Hive and HPs. And for processing, we are using Spark.
Okay. So that sounds great. Looks like you have a good, quite extensive experience with the data science and engineering field. So yeah, that's nice. And any specific project would you like to highlight, explaining a one use case where you use different data engineering technologies?
Uh, this is the project that I'm working on right now. There are multiple different technologies in that one. Prior to this, while I was working in Oracle, uh, I was working on batch processing. So right now it's structured streaming. Back then it was batch. So that's something I've worked on.
So what kind of data you handled? Was it more of formatted, or what kind of files you dealt with?
I have dealt with text files as well as Avro files.
Okay. Any specific points you would like to highlight with which you can show the difference between these two? Any optimizations you observed while working with Avro, Parquet, or any distinction between the text file?
So in one of the projects, we were using a lot of text files in Hive, and
Mhm.
that was taking up a lot of space. So I worked on it and I optimized and moved it to ORC. So
Okay.
that is one improvement I brought upon in the project as a whole. And so CSV files and text files are basically the same thing, more or less the same thing.
Mhm.
Uh, Parkway is mostly when you have, let's say, a nested structure. Everything will be divided into row groups. And Avro, the file format is it's basically in binary. But if you try to understand in what way the things are written, it's close to JSON, same as JSON, in fact.
Mhm. Okay, perfect, nice. And did you observe, like, if there is a case where you have to perform some kind of statistical analysis, so which kind of format you would prefer more?
Statistical analysis, as in I have historical data, is it?
Like you just want to know what this particular file consists of, like the complete stat of it, like how many rows, how many, what is the size, and such kind of stats. If you get a
I
file.
I would like to look at its metadata for that. It's-
Mhm. Okay, yeah, like with Parquet, you get this ability where you can, easily get to know about the stats of the file. Yeah, okay, perfect. Okay, I think we can just get started with some of the basic SQL questions. So for that, I'll do one thing. I'll share my screen and the document with you, with which we can just do some uh, basic SQL questions to begin with. Just give me 1 minute. And also, like, just to start with some sequels, have you used union and union all?
I have not used it, but I know where it could be used. So union is used. Let's say you have some duplicates. The duplicates would be dropped. In union, all the duplicates would be dropped.
Okay. And in union all, you just bring all the data from both the tables, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so let's do this very interesting question where we are going to have two tables, table A and the other table will be the table B. And in this, as you can see, there are two columns, ID and the value. And interestingly, some of the values are common in this. So what we want to do is we want to perform inner join and we want to see what is the count or the how this basic operation will operate if we are doing a inner join over these two tables.
So the characteristic for inner join is that nulls are not taken into consideration. Let's say I'm performing a join on the ID column.
Yeah.
So ID1, ID2, and ID3 will be retained. So I will have something like there will be an ID column, there will be a val column, which is coming from table A, left table, and there will be another ID and val columns coming from table B.
Mhm.
Ideally, I should drop one of the ID columns. So basically, my result will be like yeah, that's how it will be. These columns are coming from A, these columns are coming. And for left join, the characteristic is I want to retain everything from the left table. So
So you can leave the output of the inner join. I'll have some comments on it. So let's proceed with the left join.
okay. This 5 2 will also, ideally it should also retain what I understand. But then table A does not have 5. So and I'm not sure whether it will come or
Okay. Now let's say that there is no ID column and this table is only comprising of value columns.
table B.
Yeah, like I'll just remove this and our table looks like this. Well, 1 1 1 and the second table looks like this. 1 1 1 and null and in place of this just two and just two. So what will be the output in this case?
The bottom column is column B, sorry, table B.
Yeah, table B.
So everything from table B will be retained. 1 1 1 null 2.
But do you think like how many records will be there? There are two common values in the table A. So when we are bringing the common from the second table, how many records will be there total? Like you can see there is two as well.
Okay, so at the end of the day, we'll have 3 records, 1 null and 2.
These will be the distinct records, right?
Yeah, that's what you're
And
asking.
what will be the like common values for like how many ones will be there?
There will be 2 ones.
But see, basically, if we see there are two, so each one will not know like how, like which one to, join with, right? So for one particular common value one, there will be three records, and for one another, there will be three records.
Okay, so there would be cross join. One,
Yeah,
one, 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 one. Okay, six, then it will be.
that's six. And then there is one common value that is two, and here also one. So it will lead to one more record,
Seven,
right?
it comes up.
So total 2 into 3 will be 6, and 1, 2 is common with the other two. So you are right in terms of the number of distinct records. Like basically, if we filter out what is the just the unique numbers, so it will be 1, 2. But when it comes of in terms of number of records, it will just multiply and give the output. And you are right, for the null, we will not be considering. And because null does not match, right? So also for the left join, similar approach will follow as you mentioned before. And but the count of the common ones will vary, like I demonstrated. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So let's do one more question. You can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, so this is a very interesting question. So basically you can see there is one customer table and one order table and one product table. Okay. So what we are like, there are two simple questions that I wanted to ask, and then we'll discuss about this question. So like, let's say first question is you want to find out customer who bought minimum one product. Like I want to know the customer who have at least bought one product. So how will you go about this? No need to write complete table. You can just query, but you can just mention the, like, how will you approach this problem?
I will have to perform a join on all of these three tables, and then I can take the count of distinct customer IDs.
From which table you will take?
That I will take from customers table. So first of all, like this is a very small data, so just by looking at it, I can say the answer is 1, 2, and 3. So select count distinct customer ID from customer table, and then I will perform a join on customer ID from customer table to order table customer ID, since both are same. And that again I will join with product ID from orders table to the product table.
Okay. So yeah, basically, in case you don't want all those things, how you can just give the customer ID who bought minimum one product.
I mean, you are asking for even smaller approach.
Yeah, suppose like directly we just want to know the customer ID who bought the minimum one product.
Then I will remove the count keyword.
Yeah, I think, yeah, like basically from the orders table, if you see, if you just run a distinct on the customer ID column, we can derive that value, right?
Yes, it will give
Yeah.
me a list. Yeah.
So yeah, basically the idea to share this question is to just, familiarize ourselves with the whole data structure, like how, what all tables are involved and how we can derive. So I think, yeah, on the same line, how will you go about this? Will you use left join for knowing the customer who never bought any product?
Yes, I will perform a left join on customer ID from customer table and order table. And
Okay.
wherever the product ID is null, I'm interested in that. So wherever product ID from product table is null, I will take the customer name.
Okay. Can you just try to give the output of the left join output of these two tables, customer and orders?
Yes. So if I perform a left join, it will give me something like uh, one second, one second. So product ID, product name, customer ID, customer name. One second. I just said that I will be performing a join on the product ID. But product ID and customer IDs are different, right? Give me a second. I think I'll have to use orders table as well. Just
Yeah.
by using these two tables, I can't get the result.
Yeah, using customer and orders table. Like if you do a left join, so that will basically give you all the customers, right? And in case that is not present in the orders, so it will give me the null value, right? You can filter it on the null and you can get the output where the customer who never bought anything. And think for the customer ID, that product ID will be null or the order ID will be null in that case, right?
Okay, sorry, I started looking at the product table in there. That was
Yeah, I
why.
figured that out. Yeah, no worries. Okay, let's see this question and just see how you will approach this question. I'll just try to explain this question to you. So suppose, like, let's look at this data set. So customer ID 1 or the customer 1 has brought the product 1 and product 2. So product 1 and product 2 is iPhone and Samsung. Okay. So these are the two mobiles that the customer 1 bought, but he did not buy Xiaomi, right? Because there is no entry for it. So how will you go about this question where we want to know the customers who has bought iPhone and Samsung, but not the Xiaomi? So basically this type of scenario happens in a real life where we want to understand the kind of segmentation of the customer we are doing. So we want to understand what is the customer preference for which product and which product they don't like. We are trying to segment such customers. So this kind of query you will have to prepare. So how will you do this?
So basically, customers who bought an iPhone and Samsung but never bought Xiaomi.
Mhm.
Again, I'll be performing a join on all the three tables, and from that, I will filter out the customer IDs which are uh, happening for the maximum number of times. No, customer about iPhone. It can be more than that, right? Um,
Yeah, try to think in a way that how can you group a customer along with a product. So let's try to break down the problem, okay? So let's see, can you do a query which will give me, like for customer ID 1, I should get 1 and 2 as a product.
okay. For customer and product, but
Yeah,
you will have.
suppose the question is very simple and we try to break down this question into multiple steps. So first step is to identify the customer and the product he bought. So how will you work on this query? Let's say there is only orders table. I think you can get this information from the orders table, right? So try to group.
I'll have to first perform a group by on the customer ID, right?
Yeah.
So this will just give me a group by. After this, I'll perform a join on the orders table on the customer ID.
Mhm. Okay, let me try to help you with some inputs. So basically what I was trying to convey is like we don't need to worry much, because I know it's a very interesting problem, because it involves some unique concepts. So what we want to achieve is customer ID and suppose product ID, right? Just let's look at the orders table. So what it will give you? So it will give me product ID, what one bought, two, and one, right? So this, and similarly for two, it will become three. And for customer ID 3, it will be product ID 1, right? So now suppose this data set is big and there are other orders as well. So suppose 2 also bought uh, 3, and 2 also bought iPhone, that is 1. So now let's focus on these two customers only. So customer 1 and customer 2. Product ID 1, 2, 3. Suppose customer 2 bought all the 3 products. So our output should just include customer 1, right? Because customer 1 has bought the iPhone and Samsung, but never bought Xiaomi, that is product ID 3. Yeah.
Uh,
So maybe 1 second. So if we group by customer with having what filter condition we can use? We can use where suppose product ID underscore ID.
is 1 and 2,
Yeah.
but not 3.
Yeah. Something on those front. But now there is a very important concept that we need to know. What is the difference between count and sum?
Count is it will count all of the values, whereas some will add it up. Let's say there are different values,
Mhm.
48, 50, and 38.
Yeah.
Count will add this up, and some will give, sorry, count will give 3, and some will add it up.
Okay. And also count basically doesn't care about what values are present in it. It just counts it if value is not null, right? Whereas sum, we can specify and make it check what exactly the value is. So in this scenario, when we will be aggregating the result, we can make use of something like sum of product of suppose from the orders table, o dot product ID, and this will be our condition is equal to a 1 greater than 1, and same thing we can do, product ID is equal to 2 and sum of product ID equal to 3 but equal to 0, right? Greater than
Yes.
0 we can put. So now if you look at this query with the grouping, you will find that 2 will not satisfy this condition and 1 will be satisfying this condition. right? Okay. Yeah, perfect. No worries on this. And I think this was the basically the trick of the in this question, but it follows a very specific pattern where we are trying to group A plus B and minus we are removing the third product. So yeah, like basically good on this. And okay, so you have done some kind of ETL as well.
Yeah, did have them. As
Okay,
in,
can you
I've written codes to perform the processing.
okay, can you explain what is ETL?
Extract, transform, and load.
And you know about ELT? What is the difference between ETL and ELT?
I'm not sure on that. Extract, then load, then transform.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, the difference between these two is like what difference do you observe?
The order in which the uh, things are happening.
Yeah, right. Basically, we load the data in one first, and then we determine or worry about the schema and all those things. And in one approach, we already define it and then load it, right?
Mm.
Okay. So have you also worked on SCD type 2 tables?
No.
Okay.
What
And
I
do
have
you?
worked,
Mhm.
what I have worked on is, let's say there is some data coming in Kafka, and the schema is changing because the data that we are getting is constantly changing. So how does schema evolution work in Kafka? That's sort of thing I'm aware of.
Okay. So how do you handle schema evolution in Kafka?
We perform a check on the data that we are getting with the schema. If that changes, it means there is something different with the data.
Mhm.
So that's
Okay.
how we do.
And have you worked on any other streaming APIs?
Spark streaming algorithm.
Okay. And what difference do you observe in Kafka and Spark streaming framework?
Kafka streaming I've not worked on. Kafka I've only used to read and write data. Spark streaming I've worked on extensively. Uh,
Okay. What are Kafka topics?
let's say there is some table and there is some schema associated with the schema, as in some column and data types associated with it.
Mhm.
Topic is nothing but the same thing in a Kafka cluster, in brokers rather.
Okay. And what are producers and consumers?
So producer can be anything which is generating the data. It is your application, and consumer is basically your uh, Spark. In my case, it's Spark.
Okay. Okay. And suppose there is a lag that you're observing, how will you handle it?
Um, Lag, as in there is a lag in the data.
Yeah, like you are producing, some producers are producing, but consumers are not able to consume it very quickly.
You can set up some mechanisms to monitor the lag metrics
Mhm.
on the SRE front. Uh, I know people use Grafana and all. In my team, they use it. Then
Mhm.
there are some uh, key value pairs that you can optimize, like fetch minimum bytes or fetch max wait millisecond. You can tweak it and adjust and check it how it's improving things on your end. And you can do partition reassignment as well.
Okay.
So these are some of the things that we can do.
Can you explain about the partitioning? How does it help?
So it helps you to distribute the load more evenly across all of the consumer. Let's say I have many consumers, I would want it to be uh, balanced. It's not like one consumer should be taking all of the data. So that's sort of things.
So basically rebalancing you will use to manage the distribution, right?
Yes.
Okay. You mentioned you worked on Scala.
Yeah.
So can you tell me what it is?
It's a programming language, so it is mostly used, like what I have mostly used it is in Spark, extensively only with Spark. Nowhere else I have used it. Let's say there is uh, Scala and Python
Hmm.
used for some Spark processing. The Scala one will always be better than Python because with Python there is some extra layer involved for it to interact with GPM. For Scala, it will directly uh, interact with JVM. So the timing is very much reduced.
Okay, so you're mentioning that you find the PySpark wrapper on top of it because they have built it in this way. That's why you're saying it's more efficient in managing it.
I'm saying Scala is more efficient.
Okay. Okay. So do you know what are scalar maps?
Map function.
Yeah. I
Basic.
how will you use it?
Let's say you have a file,
Mm-hmm.
and it's uh, so you can use it on structured data as well as non-structured data. Let's say I have a non-structured data and my row consists something like name, comma, uh, uh, age, tab, uh, location. So I can perform a map on each of the rows. And let's say I've read the data frame df.map x or whatever you want to specify. Then I'll write the function, I'll split it. That will give me a new row.
Okay. Okay. Can you write, suppose there is a data frame and there is a scenario where there is customer ID and also the customer ID has there is one more column that says email address. Now, by mistake, there is a duplicate entry in the email ID. But what in our system, what we want is we just want only one email address associated with the customer ID. So in this scenario, the task is to basically remove the duplicate. And can you write the code for this? How will you do it in the Scala?
You want me to just write the main part or creating the session and everything else?
No, no, just the logic or the main code will be enough for removing the duplicates.
Okay. So this DF already consists my name and email ID. And
Mm.
I will do a DF drop duplicates.
Mhm.
So what it will do is basically, let's say I have name X and email ID is XYZ, and there is another row X and XYZ. So it will retain only one of these. The second one will be removed.
Okay. Okay. Will it also now? Okay. On top of this data frame, suppose one of the I'll just add, suppose there is customer Y, but the value is null. How will you drop the duplicate or duplicate? It's okay. You have already dropped. How will you remove the null value?
I can put a condition over here that if it is null, then drop it. In pandas, it is fairly easy. Drop NA.
Mhm.
Uh, in SQL, I'm thinking what I should do, or um, in SQL also I should do something like the same of the same category.
Yeah,
If
like basically in the data cleaning part, once you will get the data frame, in the data cleaning part, you can handle the nulls or unwanted columns, right?
yeah,
And then you can proceed with the other transformations like removing duplicate or anything like that. Okay. And what do you know about Spark? What is a Spark?
It's basically a compute engine. So earlier, when a Hadoop was created, it has three parts: HDFS, MapReduce, and YARN.
Mhm.
So instead of MapReduce, this new thing came up called Spark in, I think, 2013. Basically, the idea is in MapReduce, if you are doing a read and write operation, first it will read from HDFS, then write to it, then again it will read. So for every read write operation, there is like two steps involved. But
Mhm.
if you use Spark, what happens is you can directly read it from one variable to another, basically from one RDB to another. So the number of operations are minimized. So it's lesser processing involved.
You mentioned RDD. So what are RDDs?
It stands for resilient distributed data sets. This
Mhm.
is the building block of Spark. It's, uh, okay, I will just explain the meaning of RDD. It's a better
Mhm.
definition. Uh, Resilient means it is never lost. It can always be traced back. Distributed because it is a distributed environment, and data set because it's a data set. Uh,
And what are the higher forms of API on top of it?
Data frames and data sets.
Okay. So you have used all three of them in production or
Mostly, I have used data sets.
data sets? Okay. And have you worked on optimizations, Spark optimization? Yes.
Uh, yes, yes. One
Okay.
example I
Mm-hmm.
gave earlier was there was some processing that we were doing, and when we were writing the file, it was in text format that was taking up a huge amount of space, which is not something that we would want. So I converted it to ORC. It reduced the amount of storage that it was taking. Another is recently we were trying to print everything on the driver. Ideally, you should never try to print anything on the driver, right? Uh, we did not have that much of RAM to print that much of data. So it
Mm-hmm.
was throwing out of memory exception. So that was resolved.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, basically we have to be very careful while dealing with the operations, and we have to make sure that we do not face out of memory errors, right? So yeah, good. And any other optimizations that you can think of? Suppose I give you a scenario where like your business has said that we need column 1, 2, 3, and we need to filter on column 2, and there are, suppose in production there are 100 columns.
Mhm.
So how can you optimize your Spark SQL or your query?
I did not get the question. Come again.
So suppose there are like hundreds of column in a table, and as per the logic of your code, uh, you need to filter on a particular column, suppose column 2, that you want to see what all customers name start with name of A, let's say. Okay, and there are like thousands of or millions of record in your data frame.
Mhm.
So how can you optimize, or how will you write this query?
So I'm guessing. Uh, so okay, so it's a huge amount of data, right? So instead of using map and filter, I will use map partitions and filter. Uh, that will be one improvement I can make. And I will check if all of my nodes are getting used. So depending on the size of the data, I will try to uh, change the number of partitions,
Mhm.
but I will repartition it. So these two things I can do.
Okay, and on what column or what will be your partition strategy?
I do not understand.
Okay, so basically, like how we can optimize is like, since we are going to work with a very specific data set, right? The only thing we need to work on with is the customers whose name start with A. And since we already know that there are a lot of millions of record which are unwanted for us, like any customer name which starts with B, C, D, we do not care about it, right? We know that we are going to work with only specific customers. So we can kind of make use of like what you call it, predicate push down, where, filter the data beforehand and do any kind of transformation on only the data that you want to work on later on. So basically you will apply those filters beforehand, before even, selecting the rest of the columns or the other unwanted data. So basically you will filter the data before. So this strategy is more of like, reducing your data set so that less load is there. Yeah, I think, yeah, it's good. It was nice interacting with you. And it's really nice that you're working on some of the latest Kafka related projects and streamings. So I think I'll say good luck to you and prepare well for your actual interviews. And it was nice interacting with you, Apurva. Thank you.
Thank you, Swapnil.
Thanks. Bye.